This is Cemeteries of DeKalb, and this week we are at the Waterloo Cemetery, and Andrew LaVarghetta, our video guru, and I are here to tell you a little bit about the cemetery and show you some of the interesting stones. So Waterloo City Cemetery was founded in 1867, and the town of Waterloo is in the northern part of the county, and it was a center of railroads and railroad history. So it was a very important town, and it was very prosperous. So this is the Kelly family plot, and as you can see, there's a little barrier, a little fence here that would have been purchased by someone in the Kelly family, and this plot would be allocated to the Kelly family, and it would be passed down from generation to generation, as you can see here. Lots of Kellys, brothers, sisters, parents, and so forth. So this is a tombstone, as you can see, in the shape of a tree branch. And this was popular during the Victorian era, which is from about 1830 until 1910. And the fellow who was buried here, his name is Freeman Kelly, and he was a state representative in 1889 as well as 1891, and the size, the length of the tree trunk symbolizes the age. So if you have a short tree trunk like this, it would be for a younger person, and because this one is tall, means that the people who were buried here lived a very long and fruitful life. And the ferns and the different bits of ivory mean that the people who are buried here lived a long, fruitful life, and that there's rebirth, that they found peace and they're in heaven. Ivies and so forth are growing on this dead tree trunk. This is an example, the Waterloo Cemetery, of the rural cemetery that was popular during the Victorian era. A nice place with trees and the nice grass and the rolling hills to where people could spend time with the loved ones in a nice, peaceful setting. So we're going to look at this tombstone here. This is of Captain Samuel Edge, and he fought in the Civil War, and this would have been his likeness as best they can get. He had the beard and his cap, and at one time he may have held a rifle or a sword, but he was a very important person during the Civil War. He served under General Sherman, and he was involved in the battle for Atlanta as well as Vicksburg. And he was Captain Samuel Edge, and he was very important because he was with the Signal Corps. He would decode enemies' messages that were intercepted, and he would also code messages that would be sent to the troops and so forth in his unit, and that was a very important job. They would use the semaphore flags and decode messages. But after the war, he was involved in several business ventures, running a hotel and a cobbler, and this is very interesting. This is unusual. You don't see Civil War tombstones very often. But there are a lot of details in this stone. You can see the 3 buttons on his cuff, and you can see his belt and the belt loops and his shoes and the creases in his pants. Very detailed. His family would have, well, he might have selected the things that he wanted on his stone, or his family did. It was often the family who decided what to include, the characteristics and details. This is the Jackman family plot, and in your plots, you either had a little fence around it, or you had something like this, where it has the name Jackman, and then the rest of the family would be buried in this area here. And we have some symbolism here. We have the sheath of wheat and the ear of corn, and that can symbolize that they were farmers, or that this is what they grew, corn or wheat. And something that is very unusual is we have 3 cradle graves. As you can see, they have the headstone for Isaac Jackman, and then there's a little footstone at the end, and then on the side you have 2 stones, and then in the center you plant your dirt, your earth, and in the spring and summer you would plant flowers, and it's a little garden. And then in the fall you would plant foliage, some type of bush, something like that. And it was a nice way for the family to spend time with the loved ones and weed, and just very popular on the East Coast, which is unusual here in the Midwest. So this is the final resting place of Henry Link, and he was born in 1884 and died in 1987. He was a local historian, knew a lot of information about the people who lived in the county, as well as the different landmarks. He also wrote for the Waterloo paper, different articles, and he was a very famous local historian. And he also took photographs. He took pictures of farms with bales of hay. He took pictures of threshers and train wrecks. He was very artistic and very well known throughout the county, and this is where Henry Link is buried. So I want to thank you for joining us. We're here at the Waterloo Cemetery, and if you want to come here and visit, we are just off Center Street in Waterloo. And again, I want to thank you for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.